The air outside the funeral home was thick with silence, the kind that followed grief and hovered like smoke. Charisma stood near the edge of the garden, arms wrapped loosely around herself. Her eyes traced the pale sky with the fading light, though her mind lingered on more than the ceremony. On more than Letty, it lingered on him. She heard the door creak open behind her, but didn't turn. She didn't have to. I didn't think anyone else would be out here. They both paused, laughed quietly. Exactly what I was going to say, she murmured. We keep doing that, he said, a hint of a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Yeah, it's starting to feel less like chance and more like a pattern, he said softly. Or fate. The word hung between them. Not romantic, not even bold, just true. In a way neither of them fully understood. I thought I was imagining you, Lionel said after a beat. At the park, then again at the coffee shop. Charisma turned slightly toward him. I felt you before I even saw you. Their eyes met again, like magnets, like memory. And then, as if pulled by the same invisible thread, they said together, like your soul recognizes theirs before your brain catches up. Neither of them laughed this time. The air felt different now, sharper, charged with something neither of them could name. My mom talked about you, Lionel said, voice quieter now. She told me I should meet her son, Charisma replied, her eyes softening. I thought it was the meds talking or her just being sweet. She never did that, Lionel said, his brow furrowing. Never. I didn't understand it then, Charisma whispered, almost to herself. But now it makes sense, he finished. The wind shifted, brushing past them like a whisper neither of them could hear, but both of them felt. Charisma looked away, down at her hands. It's like something's guiding us. Lionel's eyes stayed on her, or pulling us back together. And when she turned back to meet his gaze, there it was again. That feeling. That hum. That impossible knowing. Like their meeting wasn't the beginning, but the middle of something much, much older. The moment lingered, soaked in quiet awe and something unnameable. Lionel's gaze held Charisma's like it had known her longer than this life allowed. She tilted her head, a small, uncertain smile tugging at her lips. This is wild, she whispered, her voice breathless. What are the chances? He laughed softly, rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah, just a coincidence, right? They both nodded slowly, as if they were trying to convince themselves. Probably just one of those weird timing things, Charisma offered, though something in her heart fluttered otherwise. A glitch in the matrix, Lionel said with a grin. They chuckled, gentle, nervous, amused. Their eyes found each other again, steady this time, held. Then, at the exact same moment, they both said, But if it happens again? They blinked in surprise and laughed. The sound more open this time, familiar. Charisma raised her brows. We go on a date. Lionel nodded, that same stunned smile softening his grief. Yeah, a real one. She held up her pinky. Pinky promise. His brow lifted, and then he wrapped his pinky around hers. Firm, but light. Pinky promise. They stood there for a second longer, linked by something as silly and sacred as a childhood vow. This is ridiculous, she said through a giggle, cheeks warm. And just like that, they let go. But the promise lingered between their fingers, between their hearts, as if fate had pressed pause, waiting for the next time. That night, sleep did not come quietly. It arrived like a soft tide, carrying both Charisma and Lionel into separate, yet strangely parallel dreams. Dreams so vivid they clung to them even in the seconds just before waking. Charisma's dream unfolded in gold and blush hues. She stood barefoot in a sun drenched field, the hem of her lace gown brushing the wild grass below. Her curls were crowned with delicate baby's breath, and joy radiated from her skin like heat. A soft melody played in the distance, maybe violins, maybe wind, and when she looked up, there he was, Lionel. He stood waiting beneath an arch of ivory roses, his eyes not just seeing her, but holding her, steady and sure. She didn't feel nervous. She felt known, as if her soul had been inching toward this moment her whole life. Their guests, faces she loved and some she barely recognized, blurred into the background. All she could see was him, reaching for her hand, pulling her into a promise with nothing more than his smile. They didn't speak, not right away. They just stood there, forehead to forehead, wrapped in something wordless but ancient. Love, real love, the kind that makes time bend. A whisper of laughter pressed her lips as she leaned in closer and said, "So this is what it feels like to belong." Lionel only smiled, his thumb brushing the side of her cheek. "I knew it was you." And then, just like that, the field faded into light. Across town, Lionel stirred against his pillow, the edges of a dream blooming warm in his chest. He stood in a modest kitchen, bathed in morning light. The smell of pancakes filled the air, and tiny feet pattered across the hard wood. A little girl, barely 3, darted into the room, curls bouncing as she held a stuffed bunny to her chest. "Daddy, juice," she chirped, pointing to the fridge with exaggerated importance. He laughed, deep and easy, as he reached for a cup. "Yes, ma'am, right away." And then Charisma appeared, hair wrapped in a scarf, wearing one of his t-shirts. She leaned against the counter with that same teasing smirk she always gave him when he was trying too hard to be the fun parent. "You spoil her," she said. "I spoil both of you," he replied without thinking, handing over the juice. She walked over, pressing a kiss to his cheek, her eyes softer than the sunlight pouring through the window. There was no pressure, no tension, just a rhythm they had found together. Their family, their home. Just as he reached to wrap his arm around her waist, his dream self whispered something only the real Lionel could feel. "I never believed in fate until you." He awoke with that sentence echoing in his mind. And miles away, Charisma woke up smiling, one hand brushing her cheek like she could still feel the breeze from that dream meadow. Neither of them spoke about it yet, but in their separate beds, hearts quietly thudding, they both knew something bigger was stirring. Something real. Something already written. Lionel couldn't stop thinking about the dream. Even hours after waking, its warmth lingered. Charisma's smile, their daughter's giggle, the way the morning light poured into the kitchen like it belonged to them. It didn't feel like a dream. It felt like remembering something that hadn't happened yet. He found Dion out back, leaning against the fence, sipping a sports drink like he owned the morning. Lionel stepped out with both hands in his pocket, trying to act casual. Dion didn't even look up. "You've been pacing since sunrise." "I had a dream," Lionel said, slowly approaching. Dion smirked. "You dreaming about Mom again?" Lionel shook his head. "Nah, Charisma. That got his attention. Dion turned, brow raised. Oh, we naming names now? I saw her again at the funeral. Wait, that girl from the park, from the coffee shop? Lionel nodded. She was one of Mom's nurses. Took care of her near the end. No way. Dion stepped forward, gripping his bottle like it might crack. You're serious? Dead serious. Bro, she wasn't just a stranger. She was part of Mom's final days. She even said Mom tried to set us up before she passed. Dion stared at him for a long beat before letting out a long whistle. That's wild. It's more than that, Lionel said, his voice quieter now. It doesn't feel like a coincidence. Dion narrowed his eyes. You think it's like fate or something? I don't know what I think, Lionel admitted, but when I see her, it's like something's pulling me toward her. Like I already know her. And she feels it too. Yeah, we made a deal. If we bump into each other again, without planning it, we'll go on a date. Dion let out a soft chuckle. A fate clause. Y'all pinky promise or something? And Lionel smiled. We actually did. Dion shook his head, grinning. Man, you sound like you're 16. Don't it feel like that sometimes, though? Lionel said with a smile. That innocent, scary-ass kind of magic. Dion's smile faded into something softer. Listen, I gave you hell before because I didn't want you chasing ghosts. But this sounded like it could be real. Lionel looked down, his voice quiet. It feels rare. It is, Dion said simply. And if you're lucky enough to find someone who sees you, really sees you, and you feel that same pull, don't blow it, bro. Don't let fear turn you into dad. Lionel's chest tightened. I won't. Good. Dion nodded. Then next time fate knocks, answer the damn door. Charisma curled up on Tasha's couch, legs tucked beneath her, and a tea mug nestled between her palms. The steam curled up like incense, but her mind was far from calm. I had a dream last night, she said quietly. Tasha didn't look up from the magazine in her lap. Was Idris Elba in it? Charisma gave her a look. Tasha smirked and closed the magazine. Okay. Go on. I'm listening. Charisma exhaled slowly. It was about Lionel. Tasha blinked. The park guy. And the coffee shop guy. And Letty's son. Tasha's brow arched. Wait, all the same person? Charisma nodded slowly. I didn't even know until the funeral. He showed up and, I swear, Tosh, it was like my soul stood up before I did. I knew him, before I even remembered where I'd seen him. Tasha stared for a second, then sat up. Okay, pause. Let's rewind. You're telling me the man you felt drawn to, twice, is the same man Letty tried to hook you up with? Yes. And now you're dreaming about him? Yes. Tasha raised an eyebrow. Wedding dress or baby stroller? Charisma blushed. Wedding dress. Tasha grinned like she just won a bet with herself. I knew it. You're falling. I don't even know him. You don't have to know everything. Sometimes your spirit knows before your brain catches up. Charisma looked down at her tea, watching the ripples settle. We made a deal. If we randomly bump into each other again, we'll go on a date. But what if it's just trauma bonding or wishful thinking? What if I'm making it all up in my head? Girl, stop. Tasha leaned forward, serious now. You've had enough trauma to know what's real. And this ain't fantasy. This is divine timing. Charisma was quiet for a long moment, then whispered, It feels like my heart already trusts him. Tasha softened. then let it. Just a little. You don't have to hand him your whole soul on a silver platter, but don't shut the door on magic just because life's been messy. Charisma laughed under her breath. We even pinky promised, like teenagers. Tasha clutched her chest in mock dramatics. A pinky promise? Oh, girl, that man already got one foot in the family. They both laughed until the air felt lighter. Tasha reached over and squeezed her hand. If fate lines it up again, don't just stand there wondering. Go find out what the universe has been trying to tell you. The day had been long for both of them. Charisma had run through her last bit of oat milk that morning, an essential for her evening tea and her peace of mind. She'd meant to grab more earlier, but work dragged and traffic was brutal. By the time she parked at the little corner store tucked between the laundromat and the florist, it was already dusk. Lionel wasn't supposed to be there either. He usually shopped on Sundays, loyal to his routines like clockwork. But his brother had used the last of his almond butter without telling him, and Lionel refused to eat dry toast for another moment. Annoyed but amused, he made a detour on the way home. They moved through the store like two threads pulling toward a single knot. Neither noticed the other at first, both focused, tired, and moving on autopilot. The soft hum of overhead lights, the quiet rustle of carts, and the faint music playing some throwback R&B track, they were just background. Until they reached for the same item. Fingers brushed, a quiet gasp, eyes lifted. Oat milk? She said, almost disbelieving. Almond butter, he said at the same time, holding up the jar in his other hand. They both blinked, then laughed. No way, she breathed, eyes wide with a mix of shock and something more tender. This is the third time. It's officially weird, he said, though he was smiling like it was anything but a problem. They stood there, neither moving to let go of the oat milk they now both held. This counts, right? Charisma asked quietly, a sparkle in her eyes. This? This is the third time. Lionel tilted his head, considering her, the moment, the jar. It does. Neither of them said it, but they both remembered the pinky promise, the way it had felt to be 16 again, the way their dreams had wrapped around each other like vines in the dark. Well, she said, loosening her grip on the carton with a gentle shrug. Guess it's time for that date. He didn't let go either. I was hoping you'd say that. They stood there a moment longer, still holding the same item, smiling like they just found something sacred in the snack aisle. Are we really doing this? She asked softly. Lionel raised his pinky with a small grin. Only if you honor pinky promises. Charisma looped her pinky with his. Always. The sun was beginning its descent when Charisma arrived, painting the sky in hues of rose gold and amber. The breeze off the lake carried the scent of blooming jasmine from the nearby bushes, and cicadas hummed lazily in the trees as if the evening itself had slowed down for them. She stepped out of her car and paused, smoothing the fabric of her sundress and steadying her breath. The park by the lake wasn't extravagant, but it was beautiful in that quiet, timeless kind of way. Open sky, shimmering water, and the kind of silence that lets two people hear each other's hearts. Lionel was already there, standing near the edge of the dock, his back to her as he watched the sun stretch its arm across the rippling water. He wore a crisp green shirt with sleeves rolled to his elbows and a softness she hadn't seen before resting on his face. He turned at the sound of her steps. "Wow," he whispered, like he couldn't help it. "You clean up nice too." They stood there for a beat longer than necessary, grinning like fools, both a little nervous, but not wanting to admit it. Then he motioned to a nearby blanket spread out beneath a weeping willow, surrounded by lanterns that flickered to life as the sky darkened. There were snacks, her favorite drink, and even a little Bluetooth speaker playing something mellow and soulful in the background. "You did all this?" she asked, a little breathless. He nodded, looking sheepish. "Didn't want to mess up the first real date." She touched his arm, her smile softening. "You didn't." As they sat beneath the tree, the conversation flowed easier than either of them expected. They laughed about childhood mischief, swapped stories of awkward moments and unexpected blessings, and danced around the electric truth growing between them. Then there was a pause, the kind that doesn't feel empty, but full. Full of meaning, full of what hadn't been said yet. The sky was nearly violet now, the lake reflecting stars just beginning to show themselves. "I keep thinking this shouldn't feel this easy," Charisma said softly, looking out over the water. Lionel leaned back on his elbows beside her, his gaze never leaving her face. "I know. It's like I've known you forever, even before we met." She nodded, swallowing the lump rising in her throat. "Sometimes I wonder if we really met, or just remembered." He turned toward her fully, his voice lower now. "Can I tell you something?" "Yeah." "I dreamed about you." "Not just any dream. It was us, a family. Happiness I've never even let myself imagine." Charisma's breath caught. "I dreamed about us too, but it was our wedding." Their eyes locked again, and for a moment, the air shifted. Like time paused. Like the universe held its breath. They both looked away at the same time and laughed nervously, shaking their heads. "This is crazy," she said. "Wild," he agreed. They spoke again in perfect sync. It's probably just a coincidence." And then they laughed again, so fully, so freely, they could feel the tension break like a wave against the shore. "Okay," he said, still smiling. "If it happens again, we go all in," she finished. And without needing to ask, they locked pinkies once more. "I feel 16 again," she murmured. Lionel bumped her shoulder with his. "Good. Maybe 16-year-olds know a thing or two we forgot." They sat under the tree until the stars were bold in the sky, until silence felt like another language they both understood. And when they parted that night, neither said the words out loud, but both knew they were already falling. The light was soft, golden, like filtered honey pouring through a stained glass window. Charisma stood barefoot on a lush, dew-kissed lawn, her gown light and flowing around her ankles like a whisper. A warm breeze danced through the trees, and laughter, the pure, melodic kind, rippled through the air like a blessing. She turned, and there he was, Lionel, standing at the end of the garden aisle, wearing a linen suit with a slightly crooked tie and a look on his face like she was everything he'd ever needed. Their guests blurred into a soft backdrop. It wasn't about them. It was about this. The way he looked at her. The way she felt. Safe. Loved. Chosen. The dream wrapped itself around her like a second skin, soft and sure. But beneath it, something stirred. A sliver of doubt. Not about him, but about the way everything felt so perfect. Too smooth. Too aligned. Her heart whispered, when has anything ever been this easy and lasted? She wanted to believe this was different. That this wasn't just another story she'd wake up from and carry like a bruise. But love like this, it had always come with a catch. Still, in the dream, she said, I do. She smiled. She reached for him like she always had, even in her loneliest thoughts. But as her fingers touched, the scene flickered, just slightly. A jolt. Like the dream itself wasn't sure if it could hold. And then she woke up, heart pounding, fingers curled into the sheets like she was still reaching. Lionel stood in a sunlit kitchen, the scent of fresh baked something hanging in the air. Charisma stood across from him, laughing as flour dusted her cheek. She was holding a toddler, round-cheeked, wide-eyed, gripping a wooden spoon like a scepter. A second child ran in circles around their feet, giggling uncontrollably. Home. It felt like home. Charisma caught his eye and smiled like she knew what he was thinking. Like all the noise, the chaos, the small moments, they were exactly what they'd both prayed for, but never dared ask aloud. He reached out and grabbed her waist, pulling her in for a kiss that was all warmth and belonging. For a second, the world felt weightless. But then it hit him. This isn't your life. Not yet. The echo of every time he'd let his guard down and gotten hurt rang through his chest. That tight, familiar fear wrapped around the edge of the dream. What if this was just a trick of the mind? A craving dressed up as destiny? What if love this easy meant to fall that much harder? Still, he held her tighter in the dream. Let himself believe, just for a little while. But as the child in Charisma's arms called him, Daddy, and reached toward him, the light flickered. The dream glitched, just enough to send a chill through him. And then he woke, sweating, breath shallow, a strange ache blooming in his chest. He wanted it, but wanting had never been enough. The sun had long dipped beneath the horizon, leaving behind streaks of lavender and gold that bled into a deepening sky. City lights flickered to life in the distance, humming softly against the hush of early evening. Lionel wiped his hands on a clean towel, the rhythmic beat from the speaker still pulsing faintly through the walls of his music studio. He had just finished a long recording session. The kids from the community mentorship group finally gone, the lingering energy of their raw creativity still echoing in the space. He stepped out into the hallway, loosening the collar of his shirt, grateful for the quiet. That's when he heard it, the unmistakable sound of heels clicking against the tile. Light, measured, curious. Charisma. She appeared at the far end of the corridor, her brows furrowed in confusion as she glanced between suite numbers. Her phone was in her hand, open to a text conversation. Oh, wait, she murmured, half to herself, turning a small circle before stopping in front of Lionel's studio door. She knocked gently, peeking inside. He blinked. Charisma? She looked up, startled, eyes wide. Lionel? A laugh bubbled out of her, half embarrassed, half delighted. I I was trying to find the nail tech. I swear her text said Suite 304. He smirked, stepping into the doorway. You're not far off. She's next door. But, wow. I know. She tucked a curl behind her ear, the golden hallway light catching the blush in her cheeks. What are the odds? Getting kind of suspicious, he teased. Her laugh was warm, disarming. Seriously. He leaned against the doorframe, folding his arms. You think it means something? She tilted her head, eyes dancing. I think I don't believe in coincidences the way I used to. There it was again, that electric hum in the silence, that soft pull like gravity drawing them closer with every unplanned moment. I had a dream, he said, voice lower now, more vulnerable. So vivid, I woke up smiling. Her lips parted. Me too. They both laughed, the sound echoing off the walls like fate teasing them. This is getting weird, she said, her voice light but tinged with wonder. Weird, he nodded, but kind of amazing. The pause between them stretched, full and unspoken. One breath, then another. I mean, she said with a smirk, it could still be random. Right, he nodded. Could be. Just a string of really well timed coincidences. Exactly. Their smiles mirrored each other, wide, knowing, almost disbelieving. But, she added, lifting a playful brow, if it happens one more time, just one more, we go on a date, they said in unison. They froze, then cracked up, the hallway briefly alive with laughter that felt like an exhale. She reached for his hand without thinking, and he met her halfway. Their pinkies hooked, gentle, certain, sealed. Now we really sound like 16-year-olds, Charisma said, shaking her head. Yeah, he replied, his grin stretching lazy and lopsided, but I don't hate it. They stood there, suspended in a state of both terror and fascination. To tell a truth, neither of them dared to name. As she slowly pulled away, preparing to head next door, a question hung between them, almost too heavy to speak. Lionel took a step forward, a voice barely above a whisper. So, what now? Charisma bit her bottom lip, eyes glinting with mischief and meaning. You tell me. He chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck like he couldn't quite believe this was happening. I think we just ran out of excuses. And then, without planning it, without cue, They both spoke at the exact same time. I think we're supposed to find out why.
I wanna take it back, but I can't. I wanna leave it behind, but I can't. It's not easy to love it, darling. It's not easy to love it, darling. Should I love you in the moment? Should I tell you all the problems? It's not easy to love you, baby. It's not easy to love you, baby. It's not easy to love you, baby. You just run